Okay, folks, let's jump right in. So, what is the AIRTOC framework? AIRTOC is the foundation of everything that you'll be doing with AI inside of this program. It's the difference between getting a vague, generic output versus getting a senior level, accurate, phase-appropriate deliverable that you can actually use on real projects. So let's jump into what AIRTOC is, why it works, and how it transforms the way that you partner with AI. So, what is AIRTOC? AIRTOC is a prompt engineering framework specifically designed for project managers. It solves the biggest problems PMs face when trying to use tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, or Copilot. Contrary to most people's belief, AI will not think like a project manager unless you tell it to. Most people believe that AI has the capability to think for them, and this may be true in some cases, but it's only really true if you give AI the proper context to think with. So in other words, AI should not be thinking for you, you should be thinking for AI. You can't hand AI a vague instruction and expect it to produce a complete, accurate, PMBOK-aligned deliverable. If you do that, you're basically letting the machine guess. AIRTOC removes that guesswork. It gives the AI clarity, it gives it structure and context it needs to function like a professional PM. When you use AIRTOC, you force discipline into your prompt. Instead of handing AI a blank page, you're giving it a defined professional perspective, a clear context, explicit requirements, a precise task, structured output formats, and real-world constraints. And when you give AI all of that up front, your deliverables are going to become much more accurate, much more complete, better aligned with the PMBOK, appropriate for the correct phase of the project, and much more stakeholder ready. This is exactly why AIRTOC is so powerful. Now, the AIRTOC framework is built around 5 core elements. You're going to see these over and over again throughout the lessons, so you want to pay attention. When you hear me talk about AIRTOC throughout this program, I'm always referring to these 5 elements that work together. They are the AI platform, the role you give AI, the task you give AI, the output you expect AI to give you, and the context that you give AI. And once you start thinking this way, you stop writing random prompts and you start building structured instructions that consistently produce project-ready deliverables. So let me give you a quick example of this. If I were to tell AI something vague, like create a project charter for my onboarding project, what do you think AI is going to do? Most likely it's going to fill in the gaps with generic assumptions. It's going to make things up. It's going to add in information that's not real. It may even completely hallucinate. Now, this is mostly because I didn't give it enough information to work with in the first place. This is something you need to control on every prompt, even the small ones. So when you use AIRTOC, you provide a role, a task, background context, requirements, format expectations, constraints, etc. You do not allow AI to guess. Now it's going to operate within a defined framework, and the output looks much more tailored to what you actually want. This reduces a lot of rework, iterations, frustration, and that improves your efficiency. I'm talking 80 to 90% complete professional artifacts in a fraction of the time. That sounds pretty good to me. This is the difference between using AI casually and using AI professionally. Now let's dive into these core elements a little bit deeper. First is the AI platform, the ANI in AIRTOC. This is where you decide which AI system you're going to use and why. And as we find out more and more each day, not all AI tools are created equal. Some are stronger at analysis and numbers, others specialize in visuals. Here you want to answer the question, what AI am I using for this job, and does it match the task at hand? Next is the role. This is where you assign a role, a job title, or a persona to the AI, and this defines how the AI should respond. You want to give it roles like project manager, risk analyst, business analyst, scrum master. You want to give it a role that actually makes sense. So in other words, an actual resource that you may have on your project team, that's the role you want to give AI. Don't make up roles. The more aligned the role is to the type of deliverable you're creating, the better. So for example, you wouldn't get an executive to write a project charter. That's the project manager's job. So if you need a charter, set the role as a project manager for the best output. If you're not sure which role to use, no worries. We include the best role in each AIRTOC artifact template to make sure you get the best results. By giving AI a role, you're telling it how to think and what lens to use when it produces the deliverable. This will always give you better outputs. Next, we have the task. This is where you clearly state what you want the AI to do. Some examples would be identify potential risks and group them by impact and probability, or draft a first pass project charter based on this business case. This is straightforward, but there are some things that you need to be aware of. Assigning the task is a bit of an art. The key is to be specific enough to guide AI, but not so narrow that you shut down useful insights. AI is really good at suggesting next steps or providing insights to your request, and if you're too specific with your task, it may limit AI's input. This is where output and context become very important. So let's talk about it. Here you define the format or structure that you want. Do you want a summary? Do you want a table? Do you want a chart? Maybe a checklist? Do you want a full narrative? Maybe a downloadable PDF, etc. You can also bake in details and guardrails, like present this in a table with columns for risk, impact, probability, and mitigation. Or probably the most important thing, don't invent data or hallucinate. Only use what I've provided, which is probably one of the most important parts to any prompt that you write. This makes the response immediately usable instead of something that you have to rework through iterations. This is the element that saves you time, energy, and in some cases, even money. Last but not least, you have context. This is where you provide the background data and framing information that AI needs to ground its answer. This is the information that you collect on the ground in project meetings, the notes you take, the repositories you have, reports, data sets, org charts, etc. Things like project goals, scope, constraints, risks, stakeholder groups, key assumptions, you name it. If you can add it in, use it as context. This is the raw data that you need to ensure that AI stays within the context of the project, your defined role, task, and output. Without context, AI will guess. With context, AI aligns its output to the actual project environment, lifecycle phase, and the constraints that you give it. Now, here's one of the best parts about AIRTOC. As you'll see throughout these modules, it works in every phase of the project lifecycle from initiation all the way through the closure. It also works across all project management methodologies and approaches, everything from predictive to agile to hybrid and beyond. AIRTOC is universal because it's not a tool, it's a thinking framework that helps you get the most out of the tools. And that's why this lesson comes before everything else. The magic isn't in the prompt, it's in the framework. If you didn't understand the AIRTOC framework first, then every deliverable in this program will look like a magic trick. You'll think the result comes from copying and pasting prompts, not your actual inputs. Now, once you understand AIRTOC, you can create any deliverable a project manager needs. Everything from a charter, WBS, a RACI, a schedule, a risk register, communication plan, you name it, you can create it. AIRTOC gives you the ability to think with AI while leading and governing the process the entire way. Always remember this, and this is central to the AIMPM philosophy. AI should not be thinking for you. You should be thinking for AI. Now that you understand the AIRTOC framework, you're ready for the next step. Here's what I want you to do. Download the AIRTOC template library. You'll use these templates to guide your prompts throughout the program. Number 2, review the AIRTOC sections in the textbooks and the online portal. These visuals and examples reinforce what we covered today. Number 3, start applying AIRTOC in your practice exercises. Every deliverable we create from this point on will use AIRTOC as the foundation. And once you understand how they work, you can begin to use them in real-world environments. Throughout the training, we're going to take AIRTOC and apply it to all real-world deliverables. And I'll show you step-by-step how to turn project information into clean, stakeholder-ready artifacts using the AIRTOC framework. I'll see you guys in the next lesson.